Okay, so number 4 of my Hamlet videos. We're moving on to that soliloquy. Everybody's so tired of it, really. To be or not to be, it's probably one of the most famous speeches in English literature, I'd say. And, of course, it's full of problems. One problem being that it's not really a soliloquy because Ophelia's there on the stage, as I'll show you in a minute. You could say that it doesn't really contribute much to Hamlet's progression as a character. I think I would say that. I'd take it out of context to a certain extent because it's a statement on life and what it is to live and how we're scared to die. A bit like Queen Mab in Romeo and Juliet, it doesn't actually contribute much, although we see the same themes coming out. If we just look at the preamble to the speech, Polonius being Polonius, vile man, plants his daughter, Ophelia, walk you here. Read on this book that show of such an exercise may colour your loneliness. With devotion's visage and pious action, we do sugar o'er the devil himself. We're back to appearance and reality. We're back to hypocrisy. Look like you're reading a book. Look innocent. Look sweet. And of course, Claudius picks up on this with an aside. "'Tis too true. How smart a lash that speech doth give my conscience. The harlot's cheek." Back to prostitutes, beautied with plastering art, is not more ugly to the thing that helps it than is my deed to my most painted word. We're getting a confession now, aren't we, really, from Claudius? A heavy burden that he carries, his painted word, his plastered word over his deed. So they hide, and Ophelia is left on the stage reading a book. Walk you here. So she's on the stage. Hamlet, if the director knows what he's doing, or she's doing, Hamlet should not be alone on that stage, which is really interesting, because does it suggest that Hamlet knows he's being listened to? Is this speech, in fact, part of his antic disposition? Is he seeming rather than telling us the truth? Well, I leave that with you. It's a really interesting thought when looking at this famous speech. To be or not to be, quite simply, do I live? Do I die? Do I act in terms of taking action against this murderer? Or do I leave it? Okay, so shall I be? Or shall I not be? That's the question. I do draw your attention, if you've not seen it, to the wonderful RSC version of this. The one line, the first line, with Benedict Cumberbatch, Judi Dench, Tim Minchin, and the present King Charles III, all getting involved with how to say the line. It's very, very funny. If you haven't seen it, look it up on YouTube. So, is it nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune? Okay, do we put up with life? Do we put up with fortune? Do we put up with everything that life throws at us, the slings and arrows that are thrown at us? Is it nobler to put up with them, to suffer them, or do we fight against them? Do we take arms against a sea of troubles? Do we fight against the sea? You could sort of say like King Canute, you can't fight the sea. And by opposing end them, well, it sounds like a bit of a hopeless case right from the start. But he's talking about more philosophical things than this. To die, to sleep, no more. If I die, I go to sleep, and that's it. But of course it isn't. As I've said before, you need to look at understandings of religion in the 16th, 17th century, and the desperation to save your soul for heaven. By a sleep to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. Yeah, well, if we die, we don't have to put up with life anymore. Great. no more heartache, no more natural shocks that affect our flesh, because we will just be a soul. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. Yeah, fantastic. Consummation, that's the end. That's the final be all and end all. Fantastic. To die, to sleep. To sleep, and here's where Shakespeare's brilliant, perchance to dream. Ah, there's the rub. Okay, there's the problem. There's the impediment. Okay, because what's in those dreams of sleep? Or metaphorically, if we die, what do we go to? Do we go to heaven? Do we have eternal life? There's the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come, when we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. We have to stop. We have to say to ourselves, oh my goodness, if I die, what happens next? I don't know. I can't be sure. Shuffled off this mortal coil. Coil is an old word for troubles, for problems in life. Mortal, of course, the living problems we have to put up with. But also the mortal coil, a coil around our soul, the fleshly coil that is wrapped around like a coil of rope that is wrapped around our soul. So when we've shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. We have to think about that. We have to stop. Remember, I've said already a number of times, Hamlet is the thinking revenger. Hamlet is not the revenger who flies into action immediately and kills. Hamlet thinks things through. Hamlet is intelligent and thoughtful and philosophical about this. So he has pause. He paused to think. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life. This is what makes us put up with the calamity of living for a long time. It's a pain, but we have to put up with it. Okay? For, why else would we put up with it? Who would bear, and here's a nice list of all the things that are wrong with life, the whips and scorns of time, nice image there, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely meaning sort of violent speech or insulting speech. So we put up with proud people insulting us. We put up with oppressors who do wrong. We put up with love, the pangs of disprized love, all the love we give to others that is disprized, that is not prized. The law's delay, the law, yeah, indeed. The insolence of office, and that's office as in people in power, and the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes, when he himself might his quietus make with a bare bodkin. Bare bodkin, a knife. I just have to take a knife and I can finish it. I can make my quietus. I can make my end, my conclusion. So who would put up with this? Who would these fardels bear? Who would put up with this burden, the burden of life? Grunt and sweat like somebody carrying a heavy burden under a weary life. Nice metaphor there. But that, the dread of something after death. The undiscovered country, from whose bourne no traveller returns. From that land, that field, that region, from where no traveller returns. Well, the ghost returned. If he was real, if he was true. And so Hamlet knows that, but if he kills himself, he will never return. He knows that. So if you just go back to the beginning of that sentence there, but who would these fardels bear? Who put up with his life if the dread of something after death didn't puzzle the will? Okay? Follow the language there, and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others that we know not of. We don't die, we don't want to die because we don't know anything about what's going to happen afterwards, okay? So we put up with life, we bear those ills we have. Thus conscience does make cowards of us all. He's asking himself, I'm going to have a slurp of tea, excuse me. He's asking himself, am I a coward? Remember, he said that in the previous speech. Am I a coward? Conscience makes cowards of us all. Conscience, too much thinking, self-consciousness as well, excuse me, does make cowards of us all. It stops me acting as in terms of doing something. And the native hue of resolution is cichlid o'er with a pale cast of thought. Beautiful image about skin. The native hue of resolution. Naturally, we resolve to do things. We have the colour in our skin, if you like, of resolve. But that's made pale, cichlid o'er, with a pale cast of thought. Thinking about it takes away that ruddy skin of action and reduces us to pale, almost cowards. Enterprises of great pith and moment, with this regard their currents turn awry and lose the name of action. So he knows what he has to do, but he loses that word action because he thinks. Okay, so enterprises of great pith and moment, big plans, the river, the current is turned awry, is diverted, and action is gone. So as I say, as a speech, overall, it's not adding much to what we already know about Hamlet. We've already heard these terms before from him. It could be that he's just doing this so Ophelia hears the troubles that he's in. And then, of course, he sees Ophelia. It's off you now, fair Ophelia. Oh, shh, there's Ophelia over there, as if he didn't know. Who knows? Who knows whether he knew she was there all the time? And then he speaks to her. Nymph, in thy orisons be all my sins remembered. In your prayers, please remember my sins. And we get into the horrible interchange, Get Thee to a Nunnery, where he attacks her, perhaps physically, definitely verbally, and she returns his love tokens. That seems like a rejection. She's only doing it because she's been told to do it. She's a victim in control of her father. And he sort of sums up all of his feelings about women in his attack on her. Get Thee to a Nunnery. Let's just look at that bit. Why wouldst thou be a breeder of sinners? Women. I am myself indifferent, honest, but yet I could accuse me of such things that it were better my mother had not borne me. Back to his mother again. Be thou as chaste as ice, as pure as snow, thou shalt not escape calumny. So sex, interaction with men, like his mother with Claudius, has made him bitter and twisted about this. So if you want to be pure, get thee to a nunnery. Or if thou wilt needs marry a fool, for wise men know well enough what monsters you make of them. And he goes on about the hypocrisy, makeup, paintings on your face. God has given you one face and you make yourself another. It's vicious, it's nasty. And he ends with those that are married already, all but one shall live, Claudius, of course. The rest shall keep as they are. To a nunnery go. So poor Ophelia is left. I mean, no wonder she turns, to madness and eventual suicide, because she's left baffled by this. And you have to blame Hamlet for the way he treats her. Again, look at the different approach to gender in those days. She's a victim, and he abuses her really here. And she's desperately sorry for him. Oh, what a noble mind is here o'erthrown. And of course, the king comes in and says, love, it's nothing to do with love. That's not what's upset him. And he probably knows what has upset him. Okay, right. That'll do for that one. I will do the next speech. Not sure what it is. Oh, it's in a couple of pages, isn't it? It's the next speech is... it is now the very witching hour of night. Okay, that's the one I'm going to look at next. Okay, so thanks very much for watching, and see you soon.